Today's project is going to introduce some more of our drawing tools. The drawing station is now open, and we're going to add access to texture plates today. So we're thinking about text and artists that use text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be dividing up my paper into shapes. I could do that by using a ruler and kind of organizing this. I'm going to start by just making some folds, and I'm going to let this be random. I can make an easy, if I line up my edges to make a nice vertical. I can make kind of just a diagonal fold, and I'm getting some new shapes where those cross. Maybe I'll turn my paper so I can get some new creases. And I'm going to kind of look at this and see what's interesting. I have really big shapes here in the middle, so I'm going to try and create a fold that breaks those up. There we go. Again, I could do this, I could still use a ruler and break some of these up more, but I like the lines that I've gotten. So my next step is I'm going to trace these lines with a crayon, any color I want. I'm just going to pick one color, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just kind of taking the shapes that I created with my folds and making those show up a little bit better. Because of the way I folded my paper, they are all very straight lines, so it's turning into a very geometric design. There we go. I do feel like I have this one line that's kind of going horizontally that I could use another one here. So maybe I will use my ruler, and I'm just going to kind of play around with what looks interesting to me. There we go. So we will have rulers, we can fold our paper, and now what we're going to do is we're going to use these texture plates. So if you look, these are nice patterns that are raised and they have a texture to them. So what I'm going to do is put these underneath, and I'm going to try and move the patterns around so that I don't have a pattern, the same pattern touching. So I wouldn't do this one here and here. So I'm going to think about these. It does not matter what color the plate is, because that's not what's going to show up on your paper. So I'm going to just start with this, put it underneath, and it actually, I'm reaching behind me to get my crayons. It actually is easier to use crayons that have been peeled. So I can see my plates underneath this one, and I'm just going to rub, see how it's laying down? Makes it easier to pick up the pattern. And I'm going to stop when I hit those lines so that the pattern stays inside that shape. So that's all I'm going for, is these different types of patterns. Switch to another design. And I'm also going to switch colors. Now I'm going to clean up my crayons, and I'm going to clean up my texture plates. You can see here they have texture. You can hear it when I rub the plates. But after I've colored them, I have patterns. So the texture turned into these patterns on my paper. So I'm going to clean up my supplies before I go to the next step. Now what I'm going to do is I'm introducing a new material at the drawing station. These are oil pastels. They're very similar to crayons, but they're softer and they feel greasier. The theme for this project is text, and text is another word for writing, words, letters, even numbers. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at these shapes that I made, and I'm going to think about ways that I can make letters in there. I could spell my name, I could do my favorite sports team, I could do any kind of, I could just do the alphabet. There are many artists that have used letters in their artwork. We looked at a few in class. So I want you to think about a word that you would like to put in your project. I've decided that I'm going to do the word create since this is the art room. So I'm just going to take my oil pastels, and because they're softer, they go right over the crayons nicely. And I can make them nice and big. And just like I did with my crayon rubbings, I'm going to pick some different colors. And I think that if, here I did purple on purple and it stands out nicely, but I think for some of the other ones, I'm going to pick colors that contrast. So maybe for the green, I'll do something that's bright and warm like red. So create is C, and I'm going to kind of move it across the paper here. So I think I'll do R. Maybe I'll do orange since I used red here. E. What would look good on here? I feel like I need another dark color. Maybe this dark blue. A. And that one kind of doesn't stand out quite as much because of the color being similar to the purple, but it looks okay. C. T. So now I have all these lovely patterns, these interesting shapes, and some text or writing on my boxes. This is the perfect time to take a crayon and write your name. You can do it on the back or in a corner. And you might want to get in the habit of putting the year on there. So this will be the first part of our project. This will be the day one. We'll be working on these. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean up all my art supplies and put them back at the drawing station. Got our oil pastels that are our new drawing tool. We'll put our crayons back. We'll save our projects because the next class, when we come back, we're going to open the painting station. Another thing we're going to do a little differently this year is, for most of my classes, I'm going to have watercolor paints for you. We're going to put our names on these and we're going to use the same paints. Each student gets the same paint each time. And that way we can learn how to be responsible with our paints and take care of them. So we've got a paintbrush. I'm going to get my paintbrush wet. And I'm going to start by, you can see they're watercolors, but they're kind of dry right now. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm just going to add a little water and gently rub. And now I have some nice paint. The same thing, I'm going to think about contrasting colors and what's going to happen because we have a waxy crayon and an oily oil pastel. If we add enough water, in fact, I think this might be helpful. I'm going to go ahead and put water on first. I'm going to start with this. I'm going to do different colors in each shape, just like I did different patterns and colors with the background. So I'm going to pick this orange, and you can see it doesn't want to stick to the crayon, so it's creating, oh, here comes a cat to check it out. When I get water out, the cats always show up. And what do you think, Sparky? Just checking it out, friends. I have a cat inspector. It makes an interesting pattern because what's happening is the white is the bare paper and the paint will just stick to where it was white, and it's gonna stay off of the wax areas that resist. So now I'm gonna rinse my brush. Every time I change a color, I need to rinse my brush and clean it off so that these colors stay nice and clean. And that's gonna be one of the things that we practice by having our own watercolor paints. So I'm gonna use green next, and I think I'm gonna put the green over the blue. What do you think, Sparky? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get that paint wet, kind of activate it. And now the green and the blue look really nice together. Again, I'm using enough water to flow over. If I dig in here and get a big glob, it'll cover over that wax, but that's not what I'm going for. I'm trying to get nice watery paint so that it can glide over the crayon and just kind of stick to the white paper. Nice. And I can think about maybe I want to use green. It looked so nice with the blue. Maybe I'll come over to this corner and do green there as well. And I'm going to kind of jump around and trying to have the colors not touch each other, but I've already used a variety of pattern and colors. So honestly, if I just picked one color and did the whole thing, there would still be a lot of variety and contrast on here. That'll be the nice thing is you all work on this project. They're going to all look different, even though we use the same tools, the same texture plates, and the same media, crayon and oil pastels and watercolor. They're gonna look so different. I really like how these circles are popping through. That's really cool. And what's gonna happen is we're gonna learn like, oh, I really like these circles. I like that pattern. Oh, here comes another cat. This is Nugget coming up. You'll see him in a minute. He loves the water dish. And then down the road when you're making choices, you can think about oil pastel and crayons and different patterns. So that'll all kind of inform some of our artwork as we grow. I've got this nice violet. I think this violet color might look pretty with this purple. And I'm not rubbing really hard. I'm just kind of letting the paintbrush dance over the crayon and the oil pastel. Using the tip of the brush. I want to scrub and see how my brush is staying so nice. The bristles are all together. It's not all. That makes me have much better control over the paint and it looks much nicer. All right, so I've been kind of doing colors that are similar on the color wheel, like blue next to green, orange next to yellow, the violet next to the purple. Maybe I should try contrasting. Let's see what a red looks like over the green. That looks pretty cool too. It's a little harder to see that orange E because of the red, but it still looks cool. And it's okay if the colors kind of disappear or the letters kind of disappear because we're going for something creative here. And it doesn't necessarily have to be straightforward. They can kind of become a little mysterious. Let's see, I haven't used this blue yet. Let's see what this looks like. That's pretty. So I think at this point you all get the idea what we're doing here. Again, this is how I did mine. It does not mean we all have to follow the same exact order of colors, patterns. They're all going to look different when they're done. I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and then what we're going to do when it's time to clean up is we're going to rinse our brushes, put them neatly back in our paint sets. There's paper towels on the table so you can dry these off if you need to. You'll put your paints away, your projects on the drying rack, and I will pick up the water. I can't wait to see how these come out. Now I'd just like to point out how nice and tidy my brush is. The bristles are all going the same way, nice and tidy and neat, and how clean the paints are. They're all clean because I rinsed my brush in the water every time. Every time I switched colors, I rinsed my brush off. So now my colors are just as bright and clean as they were when I started. I think it came out pretty sharp.